Welcome back. Over the last couple of weeks, Richard, we have been talking about school-related issues and concerns. And the topic today is related to, we've talked about some of these issues before, but it is also related to school because we're talking about kids and we're talking about how we raise kids. And we're really importantly, we're talking about the issue of failing.
Right.
That is unless you have kids and they're in this situation, I don't think you really think about failure as much as we should.
You know, this time of year is college application time.
Right.
So
yeah, the first semester of the school year is about to be over.
That's right. And so a couple of things are happening here. We're sort of taking stock of year three education in the pandemic, but also it's college preparation time, application time. And it always comes up that parents are really bugging their kids now, because you can envision this process where they have all these college applications spread out on the dining room table, and the parents are bugging the kids about getting their essay written and getting their service hours computed and everything. And you can feel the parents pressuring their kids to get this stuff done because you have to succeed. I mean, you have to go to the right college and you must win. You have to succeed after all this work that you did. And it always strikes me that there is this push to win or to succeed, okay? And yet, everything we know about our species, we benefit from there's an advantage, there's a benefit to trying and failing, but trying again. And so every time about this time of year, I start thinking about success and failure and what's best for kids. And I ran into this article by Nigel Barber. Nigel Barber is an evolutionary psychologist, which means he looks at psychology from the evolution of our species. You know, we started out in primitive cultures, and we have gradually, we think of ourselves as being more advanced now, right. But yet much of what we do is rooted in our primitive past. Okay, absolutely. And so he's written books about this, Why Parents Matter and The Science of Romance, some other books, but he's an evolutionary psychologist, and he has an interesting perspective on failure that I thought we would share.
Absolutely. And, you know, our culture, as you mentioned earlier, our culture has certainly evolved to be one that, you know, divides people by winners and losers. And, you know, and it makes sense to look at this from an evolutionary perspective, because I think that, you know, ever since Darwin's natural selection, right. You know, the idea of, okay, the strongest is the one that survives. The best is the one that, you know, sort of dictates the future of the species. And so we have, from a social, societal perspective, we have evolved that into, we have transitioned that into a lot of different things, because now we see, well, it only matters if you win. It only matters if you're the best, because that's the person that's going to be, you know, that's the person that's going to carry on or whatever. So it makes sense to look at it from an evolutionary perspective.
That's right. And, you know, now we're in the other thing that happened this weekend is we're in the college bowl season. It's a perfect example of winners and losers. We're in the last week of the regular, yesterday was the last week of the college college football season.
Right.
And I got to thinking about this. I said, there's 130 schools in Division I of the college. You know, when you hear about bowl games during the holidays, there's 130 teams competing for that limited number of bowl games. And so there's 130 teams competing for the national championship of NCAA football. And so yesterday, the last games were played to decide who was going to go to bowl games. You start out with 130 teams. Only one will be crowned as the champion. And so we see this playing out. I think it's most clearly played out in athletic competitions
Right.
where you have a say. Bernie, what is it called in soccer? You can have a tie, right?
Not for the not for the championship or for the winners of the league. No, they don't. There's not a draw there. If they're tied, they have there's a series of things that they look at to determine the winner. But if it is absolutely dead even, then they have a playoff match.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a tie in
Right.
football. There's a single winner. Okay, so there's a single winner in football. We just in October we had the World Series of baseball. Same thing. There can only be one winner. They play 7 games, and they
Right.
will play as many innings as it takes to decide who the single winner would be. Our economic system works the same way. You know, my goodness, who hasn't heard the names Bezos, Zuckerberg, Gates, and Musk? You know, Elon Musk, the wealthiest individual on the Elon Musk is now the wealthiest person in the world. It was Jeff Bezos. It was Mark Zuckerberg. It used to be Bill Gates. I mean, these are guys who control more money than many countries.
Right.
And so they are clearly the winners, okay? But that's just the way our country works. It's sort of baked into our system,
Right.
is that we respect and admire and value the winners, okay? And so from a very young age, we sort of teach our children this, you know, that winning and success are good and failing or losing or not succeeding are bad, right?
Right. And you know, I think that a lot of times we try to overcompensate perhaps for this, you know, the whole idea of participation trophies and you know, that whole thing. It's, you know, attempting to falsely perhaps
Right.
let everyone feel like, you know, they won the ultimate you know, goal or whatever. And that is riddled with issues as well. You know, that's not ideal. But you know, people should always do their best, and we should always strive to be the best. And you know, there should only be one champion. I mean, there should only be one person or one team or one whatever that is at the top. But it should be. And while we all drive for that, it shouldn't be where we engineer things to where that's all there is.
I think that is exactly the point. You know, that you and I are not fans of participation trophies.
Right.
Neither. I mean, both of us played sports. We had kids in sports. I don't like anything about participation trophies. You know, you walk into some kids' rooms and they have 10 or 12 trophies. And when we played, a trophy meant you were the winner,
Right.
the single winner. Today, you get a trophy for participation. And I think we should strive to do our best. You know, I think we all have the obligation to do our best, and I think it's okay just to have one champion of a sport. I mean, that's what makes sports so compelling, is that they compete with each other to decide who's the best or who has the most points or whatever. Okay, so the problem is with it, you know, and this is what our system values. I have to tell you, a little aside here. My brother's a professional musician, and he now divides his time between Germany and the United States. And when he went to Germany, he discovered that the musicians there will get a lifetime appointment to a symphony orchestra or to a college or to something. And because it's a more socialized system, the musicians are paid whether they're paid for performing. But they don't have to do anything innovative. And he said, the difference there, the security is nice, but the creativity is in the United States, because you have to keep creating new things. And so that's one of the advantages of our system that rewards winners, is that it makes for a more creative system. You know, if Elon Musk had been given a salary of $100,000 a year guaranteed for life, would he have done all the other things he did? Would Jeff Bezos have gotten into his station wagon and driven to California to start Amazon? You know, what drives us? What drives us is the reward of winning.
Right. And while there are certainly those kinds of benefits, the benefit of creativity, of innovation, and some of those kinds of things, the downside of all of that is that, you know, there you have that the famous 1%, right? That
Right.
that has more wealth than the lower 90%.
Right. Right.
And it's set up in such a way that those individuals who are on that in that 1%, or those individuals who have,
Mhm.
get more.
Right.
So rich get richer, and it's the system is, you know, whether it was overtly designed this way or not,
Mhm.
that's the way the system works. When
Yeah. When
resources
we
you
talk,
have, the more resources you can obtain.
right, when during the political season, we always hear about taxes. I'm going to cut taxes. I'm going to cut taxes. I'm going to cut. Well, I don't know about you, but no matter how much taxes are cut, I
Mhm.
really don't notice a difference.
Right.
It might be a few $100 a year or something that I might say. But if you're wealthy, if you have millions of dollars and you get a tax cut, you have tens of thousands of dollars free money
Mhm.
that you now can invest. When the stock market went up a few years ago, it was because there was a huge tax cut in 2016 or
Right.
whenever it was. You get this huge tax cut, which benefits people who have a lot of money because they then get tens of thousands of extra dollars
Right.
that they can invest, and they usually invest it in the stock market,
Right.
right? So they
Absolutely.
get richer. The rich get richer.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we have this sort of, um, hopefully it would be, ideally it would be more balanced, between, this one side where the rich get richer and those who have get more, and the other side of, those benefits of, innovation and creativity and enterprise and all of that. And, it would be great for there to be a better balance between that, but that's, you know, there's not.
That's political, right? And
Right.
that's a political decision. We're talking about it from a psychological developmental perspective. Okay.
Absolutely.
So
And so when we think about all of this, what we're talking about, it again, is as it relates to failure. And you know, we want to kind of encourage the idea that there is a good way or a right way to fail.
correct.
Right. There are sort of two kinds of failure. One kind of failure is when you just give up and
That's right.
you
Right.
throw in the towel and you don't even try anymore.
And, and there's a famous saying about you haven't failed until you quit.
Right.
Okay. And that's important here. Failure from giving up is a certain kind of failure.
Mhm.
Okay. But there's a second kind.
Right. And the second type of failure is when you're trying. And I just like to think of this type of failure as learning.
Yeah.
You're trying and you just haven't yet succeeded,
Mhm.
but you're
Right.
trying and you're attempting different things and you're exploring and experimenting with different things. But you're still pressing on. And you said it earlier, trying and trying and trying again.
Right.
That is the right type of failure.
Right. And again, I think in sports or places where competition is really keen and fundamental to the activity, in sports, we see this most clearly because losing is only bad if it stops you.
Right.
If you give up, if you're no matter what kind of a team it is, if you lose and give up, then that's failure. Okay. But if losing motivates you, for example, last night, the University of Georgia football team was undefeated. Okay. And they played Alabama, which is one of the great football teams. And Georgia was favored. Everybody assumed that Georgia would finally be able to beat Alabama. Well, they lost. Okay. They're going to play again this season. Georgia and Alabama will both make it into the playoffs. There's 4 teams that will be selected, and everybody's sure that those two are going to be in the playoffs. They will play again. What Georgia has to do, Georgia lost last night. What it has to do now, those coaches have to say, okay, these are the mistakes that we made, and this is what we'll do the next time we play them. That's not, they lost the game, but that's not failure.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely. And that is, that's one of the benefits, I think, of failure. What it does is it gives you the opportunity to learn what you didn't know you didn't know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If we're sort of sticking with the athletic competitions, most people go into, or most teams, or most athletes go into a competition with the expectation that they have the skills and they have the knowledge and they have everything that they need to succeed and to win. So when you don't, when you lose, when you don't win, to be able to learn from that and say, okay, I didn't know that that I had this weakness, and they exploited this.
That's right. They exploited it. Exactly.
So those are the opportunities that make it where it's failure because you lost, but it's not really failure because you're able to get stronger.
That's right. Yeah, you've learned something
right
from the failure. Okay. So when we talk about what are the benefits of failure, we live in a country, we live in a culture, we have school systems that value winners, that value success. Okay. Schools certainly fall into that category. They rank their students, and getting all A's is valued. Who's the valedictorian? Okay. Who got a 1600 on his college board? So those are the things we talk about. Or perfect attendance. Oh, she never missed a day of school. Okay. Some people refer to schools as great sorting machines that separates winners into losers. I remember, you and I both remember, because we had lunch with him, when Columbine happened, back in and we had lunch with James Garbarino,
right,
who was on the task force to figure out why did Columbine happen.
Right.
And the first interpretation was those two boys were considered losers, and they were going to kill the winners. Okay, so the school sorted them out, and that was the first interpretation of why Columbine happened: losers against winners. Okay, but again, schools sort kids out. I mean, you go into any high school today, and you're going to see a sorting machine at work.
Oh yeah,
you're going to see the students who are succeeding, and who are going to do it, and then you're going to see a lot of kids who are really failing.
Right.
Okay, and that's done by schools.
And the big problem is that so much of that is engineered. Because look, there are some students, regardless of how anybody wants to feel about this, I think that there's no doubt that this is true. There are some students who will never be valedictorian.
Sure.
Fortunately, whether it's because academic, what's happening at school just isn't a strength of theirs. Students who have difficulty reading, it doesn't mean that they are flawed. It just means that, reading is one method of gaining information, and they're not very good at that method of gaining information.
Right.
But those students, there are some students who just will not ever be in competition for valedictorian.
Right.
So if all we look at is, okay, we want to be winner, we want to be winner, we want to be winner. And as soon as you realize that I can't compete with that,
right,
what does that person do?
They quit.
Right. They tend to, okay, well, there's not even a reason to try.
Right. If I can't succeed, if I can't pass these courses.
If success is winning.
Right.
Then, and as soon as I realize that I can't win, a lot of people then, just quit. And that's that one type of failure that's bad. That's that bad type of failure.
That's right. But if you have a system like that really focuses on success being measured by getting all A's or getting A's and whatever it is, there's two flaws in the assumption that success is always good.
Right.
And whether you're talking about athletics or school or dance, it doesn't matter what we're talking about.
Right.
The first flaw in this notion that success is always good, failure is to be avoided at all costs.
Right.
Is okay. So you have the first flaw number one. The problem with getting all A's is that it shouldn't happen except in extraordinarily rare cases. I mean, there are students who, for reasons that I don't completely understand, will get A's no matter what they do. I mean, no matter where they go, no matter how they're tested, no matter how much work they have, they're just able to do that. Okay, I don't know why, they just can't. Okay, everything seems to be easy. But our system today, when an A is really a C, and what I mean by that is we used to get a C if you did your work at grade level. That meant a C meant that you were doing okay, that you were doing everything you were supposed to be doing. Okay. Well, now that C, which wasn't a bad grade, that was okay. That was good. When my parents saw C, they said, "Okay, Richard's doing everything he's supposed to do. Okay, he's not working harder than he could be doing more, but this is good because he's succeeding. He's doing everything he needs to do." Okay. Well, today an A has replaced a C.
Right. An A is the expectation.
You're meeting minimum requirements.
Right.
If you get an A. Okay.
Right.
But so we've lowered the bar. It's almost like a participation trophy. Okay.
Right. And okay, so looking at it from a grades perspective, yes, the A is considered success, winning. Anything else is considered failing. When we look at this in sports, and again, that flaw is that if if all we consider and all we accept is winning, and everything is winning, anything that you do results in an A, or
Right.
Parents do whatever they need to do to make sure that their kid gets an A.
Right.
Teacher does whatever he or she needs to do to make sure that their student gets an A. What tends to happen is that student never learns how to work.
That's right.
And remember, work is like the idea of sort of stretching beyond your capacity.
Right. Right.
A team that goes out and just demolishes everyone, beats everyone handily.
Haven't learned anything.
They don't learn anything, and they're not going to get any better.
No, that's right. That's right.
There's nothing for them to work on. It's when you lose and you realize that's what I'm not very strong in, so I'm going to work on that. That's what makes you better.
That's right.
But if you never lose, you don't know what you need to work on.
That's right. And what happens to these kids who get this succession of A's because they've had parental support and teacher support and tutors, and they have all the support staff surrounding them to get the A's? What happens when they go out into real life and you don't have all that support around you?
Right.
What happens when a C is really a C? When yes, you're supposed to come to work every day.
Right.
That's the expectation. You don't get a trophy. You don't get a participation trophy. It's just expected. You're going to get a paycheck. It's not a reward. It's an exchange. Okay.
Right.
And so a C is a C in real life. And when somebody is accustomed and supported to get all A's, real life can be a real shock to those people. Okay.
Right.
So in that case, is that high level of success always a good thing? I don't think it is.
Right.
Okay.
Now, and there's a second flaw to this, right? And the second flaw is that, and it's related, is that when all we experience is success,
right,
we don't prepare for anything else. How many times, Richard, we both taught at the collegiate level, and to be honest, it was worse. Well, it was worse when I taught more classes. I don't teach as many classes now, so it's probably less likely to happen. But we would get calls from parents of college students,
of graduate students,
sometimes of graduate students. These are adults,
right?
And their parents are calling, asking about their grades,
right?
Or the students come in completely distressed because of what their grade is in the class, and it's like, well, wait a minute, these are the minimum expectations. They're not quite making that.
Right. That's right.
So you work harder.
Yeah, it's like the girl who went to her dad and was complaining about not starting or not playing or something, and he looked down at her and said, "Work harder."
Yeah.
And that was it. That was a complete sentence. And so, whether you're succeeding because you have all the support staff around you, or if you're succeeding because you're a perfectionist, that you have to get all A's, you're not developing resilience, and you're not really preparing for what you're going to encounter when your formal education comes to an end. And I talk to plenty of people in their 20s, and they all feel like in a way they've been duped, because they were told, well, if you get all A's, great things are going to happen. They said, I got all A's, but real life is nothing. Working is nothing like going to school.
Right. Yeah. I have people that I'm working with who, they did well in high school, didn't have to really work too hard. Did well in
Right.
high school, went to college because that's what's next.
Hmm.
Did relatively well in college because it was, you know, they're smart and everything. And
Right.
then they went to graduate school because that's what's next.
Right.
Got into
Right.
graduate school, and now they go from everybody telling you what to do. This is what you do next. This is what happens next. You get into graduate school and they say, you decide what's next.
Right. It's a
Completely fall apart.
shock,
Completely
shock to
fall
this.
apart. Well, what if I choose something wrong? What if I don't really know what I want to do because everybody sort of told me what I want to do
Right.
up until now.
Hmm.
And now I don't know what to do. And I don't want to fail. I don't want to choose something that isn't going to make me happy.
That's right.
And they crumble, they fall apart.
Yeah. One of the things that I always remind parents of, and these 20-year-olds, is that when you're in school, and I don't care whether you're talking about early elementary school or graduate school, you have a precise schedule. You
Right.
know exactly when the semester ends. You're told exactly when you get a syllabus, tells you exactly when something is due, each assignment, each
Right.
test. You know ahead of time exactly what you have to do. And you get a rubric now for an assignment, so it tells you, if you want to get an A, do this. If you want to get a B, do this. If you want to get a C, do this. So you're handed this recipe for success.
Right.
Follow the recipe and you're going to succeed. But once you leave school,
Right.
wherever you are, it doesn't matter whether you leave school, high school, college, or graduate school, there is no schedule,
Right.
there's no syllabus, and there's no rubric. Nobody's going to tell you how to do things.
Right. And students figure this out pretty quickly because, again, we've talked to students who, they get an A on their paper. Say, that's great. That's fantastic. Must have been a great paper. Nah, I just followed the rubric and just made sure.
I hate rubrics.
I didn't really work too hard on it. I just made sure that whatever was on the rubric, I just followed that. And okay, that finds success in the class, and that's what needs to happen. But again, how does that help you get a job?
That's right. That's right. That's engineering. That's what you call engineering success.
Right.
It's engineered success.
Right.
So if it's bad to always succeed, then what are the benefits of failure? And we're talking about the second type of failure, which is I haven't yet succeeded. I haven't given up. That's one type.
Right.
But I haven't yet succeeded. So what are the advantages of failure?
Persistence.
Right.
That's what we're talking about. Is one of the big advantages is that it teaches persistence. You just keep going. You keep trying. You learn from your mistakes and you try again.
Bernie, I was thinking about a student the other day, and not a student, but a student problem. There are kids who say, well, I just can't do it. I can't do something in the algebra, let's say, or I can't learn them all. Okay, doesn't matter what it is. Can you imagine how it would make a student feel to encounter something that they couldn't do and then learn how to do it?
Right.
The feeling that you would get from learning, say, oh, okay, so I didn't know how to do this. I thought I couldn't, but I did these things and I've succeeded.
Right.
Imagine the kind of power, the empowerment that would give you, because the next time you encounter something you can't do, you have this sense that, oh, wait a minute, I can overcome this. If I do these things, I can overcome this. Right. Well, the only way you're going to develop that is if you confront something and then overcome it.
Right.
You persist.
And that leads to the second advantage, which is you learn to adapt and change. So what you were doing didn't lead to success. So you figure that out, you try again, and you change and adapt to what is needed to hopefully find success the next time.
Right. But if you only succeed, you never develop this ability to adapt and change.
Right.
Right. And that's one of the skills we want our people to have, is the ability to adapt and change. I think of Apollo 13. All those engineers suddenly had to adapt and change.
Right.
But they knew how to do that. That's what engineers do. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And all of this builds another advantage, which is resilience. And I often think of resilience as ego strength, or a part of resilience is ego strength. you have to be, you have to allow yourself to be vulnerable, to try something that you're not good at. And then when you don't succeed, you have to be able to say, you know what, I can try again. I can continue to work. I can learn more. I can keep going. And that is resilience. That's in resilience is such a protective factor against so many things. Protects us against the effects of trauma. It affects us. It protects us against the potential effects of failure and things. Resilience is a tremendous attribute that this type of failure helps to build.
Right. Bernie, you remember those rat experiments where they would shock the feet of the rats, and they would do everything. At first they would panic, they would do everything they could to get away. And then after they couldn't escape, they sort of cowered in the corner and would just shiver, right? Well, that's because rats don't have a lot of options.
Right.
Okay, they don't have a lot of but humans have a huge repertoire of behaviors.
Right.
They can try hundreds of things, all right? But you have to have the opportunity to develop those things, okay? You have to you have to keep trying and trying and trying and trying. But humans are capable of that. We're not rats who have a one or two behaviors.
Well, what they refer to that is that Smart and Seligman's work on learned helplessness.
Learned helplessness, right?
When we give up, when we don't build the resilience, we give up. That's learned helplessness, and we get to a point where even if there's an opportunity there, we won't take it.
We don't take it. That's right. We just give up. And that's that first type of failure, is just giving up. Okay. Right. So we agree that learning how to succeed in our culture, learning how to succeed is vitally important. But learning how to fail is just as important. Right. Children and even adults need to learn that failure is simply a step toward success. I mean, it's okay to fail as long as you use that failure to improve, to adapt, to change. Okay, so it's only when we stop that we could that I would define it as failure.
Right. So we need to encourage our kids. We need to encourage them to succeed, encourage them to be the best that they can be. We don't need to guarantee it, or we don't need to engineer it. We need to let them find their own success and do so as early as possible.
That's right. That's important.
Is the best.
Yeah, let them fail when they're little. Okay. The earlier kids fail, the easier it is on everybody. If you're going to fail before you get to college, at least in school. Okay. Fail before you get to college, because in every other grade, including high school, nobody's going to register. Nobody's going to remember your Fs. Right. It only becomes permanent after you go to college. Right. So if you're going to teach these lessons, do it when kids are very young.
Right. Yeah. And definitely spend as much time working with them when they fail as you do when they succeed. Just as much praise, just as much encouragement, just as much attention and focus, not negative attention and focus, but say, okay, we didn't do as well last night. What can we do better? How can we learn more? Where were we weak? What can we get? Where can we get better? And focus on it in a way that's productive and encouraging to continue.
That's right. At the beginning of the podcast, we talked about this scene where the papers are out on the table and the parents are working with the kids. Parents are pretty good at supporting their children to be successful. Okay. What we're asking parents to do is to provide at least that much support to teach your children how to manage their failures, what it means to fail, and how to take failure and turn it into success. That's where we should be spending more time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, push them, make them work harder, but expect and allow them to fall short sometimes.
Yeah, if you're not failing occasionally, and I don't care whether you're a child or an adult, if you're not failing once in a while, you're not pushing yourself hard enough. Okay. Absolutely. And if you're not pushing yourself, you're not improving. And our obligation is to improve.
Absolutely. All right. Well, that's it for today. Until next time, stay happy, stay healthy, and forget to be afraid.